Hello guys and welcome back to mantalk.ke. This is season 6, episode 6. Now, last episode we said that episode 6 is going to be a Q&A. However, good things are happening in our lives. Very good things are happening in our lives. And so we had to say, hold up, wait a minute, let's film this episode first. This episode, we already have the title beforehand. That's how excited we are. I want to share every little win with you. So this episode is called Knead That Dough. Spelled Kned Dough. Because wordplay.
Yeah. Because this episode is about kneading that dough.
Dough. Because we all need that dough.
We all need that dough, baby. We did that.
Yeah,
that's a Jay-Z. Yeah. That's a Jay-Z line from Dead Presidents 3. It's limited access. If you know where to find it, you know where to find it. For sure, the boys have been needing that dough. That's why this is this season's first sponsored episode.
Round of applause. And we want to celebrate those wins with you. We're so happy that ICA Lion have bought the vision. They're on board for this episode, and they've sponsored us to talk about this very accessible and a really interesting form of investment that they have, which we're going to go through during the episode. So we just want to firstly say thank you so much, ICA Lion, for sponsoring this episode. It's going to be a good one, Oscar, because today we are talking about money, and it's a topic that a lot of people have asked us about, and it's a perfect synergy with what ICA Lion are offering. So they're bringing us the DigiTrust that's sponsoring this episode, which we're going to get into some details about. But as well as that, we're also just going to be talking about money as a whole concept, about investment, how to invest, what to invest in. But disclaimer at the beginning, me and Oscar are just two guys in our 20s trying to figure it out. We're not financial experts. However, we can give you the knowledge that we know, to the extent that we know. But we always say that you should also do your due diligence if you're investing in anything. Your due diligence. Every form of investment does have risk, and this is not financial advice. Just a disclaimer at the beginning, because we don't want you coming to us and saying, you told me to do this. We can just give you advice. As to what we think is the best options.
This topic
is investment without risk.
Yeah, this topic is very important, I think, for the youth. Last episode was about the youth dem. This episode is about the youth dem. Never forget. Never forget you.
Yeah.
So this episode is about giving the youth kind of a perspective on investing, and some concepts that we've come across that we think can really add value to your financial life. And how you can use that to kind of propel what you make, as little as it is, to enter like a new financial reality. A lot of people who are young in Kenya, like if you look at the statistics, Eli, for the stats, where we're based in Kenya, yes, but and this is a reality across the board, across various African countries. A lot of the youth, there's not the wealth transfer that was meant to happen, which is the greatest wealth transfer in history, isn't necessarily being felt here in Africa. And that's a problem. So, why is that? The one of the main issues of that is that our schools aren't really teaching us about how to be financially literate. And so this is mantalk.ke's limited take on what we think, what Eli and I have come across in our young financial lives that we think we can give our audience that will add value to them. So that's this episode. And that's what we're talking about.
We're very excited. I'm excited to get into, as we said last episode, the nooks and crannies of now the topic to do with money. So this episode is going to be, like I said, all about investment and things. It's funny you mentioned in our short lifetime in terms of investment, because we're going to get into the individual's financial life cycle, which you're going to sort of break down. Very excited for that bit. That's going to be in about 5 minutes. But first, let's kick this off with talking about the approach to investing, like how to invest, because I feel like for me, on my part anyway, especially in the last few years, there's been a massive surge of online personalities, online companies making this narrative that, bro, if you're not investing, what are you doing? I wake up, I invest. I do crypto, I do this, and this. And you're there like, what? How are you getting all of this money? So I think at the first point I want to say, when we're ever talking about money, is comparison is the thief of joy. We always say this, and a lot of the time, yes, people in our generation have got a substantial amount of income, But I always say don't invest what you can't afford, because you see a lot of people say I put down 100 G's on this and I made this, and it kind of makes you look in the mirror and think, why don't I have that kind of cash? So I just want to say, when we are talking about investment, don't think about it in terms of anyone else's financial strength. Think about it in your own capacity, like what you can afford and what your financial risk. Don't compare with somebody else, and don't try to achieve somebody else's financial journey. Stay to your own, stay in your own, because everyone has their own journey.
Big shout. That's a big soundbite, because that's a big soundbite, because the reality of it is, especially here in Kenya, like I said, the context will always be Kenyan because we're in Kenya. I'm sure for anyone watching this across the world, there are people who are younger who have multiple streams of income. And you're not able to see. There are people who are riding on family wealth. There are people who are riding on an investment that is a quiet investment, that's stealth wealth. That's what I like to call it, stealth wealth, like money that's really money that's like you can't really see them work for it, but it's money working for them. So when someone's making money off of stealth wealth and going to Dubai to shake their toot on a yacht, you know, like
self-censoring, Oscar, you've self-censored. This is a new level of production here.
On a yacht, it's very. I think it's like really like important for you to realize that a lot of people have a lot of ways which they are making money. They're not necessarily being as transparent with you as a young person about. And social media will never show you that. They'll never show you that side of how the hustle and how passive income is actually made. And hopefully this episode will actually be able to, we'll talk about a little bit about passive income, and that will also assist you to see, okay, wait a minute. This entire time, guys have been low-key grinding while I've been working, you know, getting one stream of income and being satisfied.
Yeah. So true. Yeah. I saw an analogy when somebody was saying 2 people can pull up in a G-Wagon, and one person, this is one of 12 cars, and it's the one that was the closest key, and the other person has sunk all of their money and are paying like 40% of their income to pay the loan for that car, where this person bought it cash. So you're both in a G-Wagon, but you know we're not the same, you know. So that never what people put on the outside, you never actually know, like, you know, how deep that wealth goes. So Oscar, what's your approach in terms of how to invest? You have a salary comes. What's your approach to how you should now distribute your money in terms of investment and in terms of budget in your life, if you want to go into your specifics or if you want to just talk hypothetically?
Okay. The rule kind of, I think I've always tried to apply in my financial life is something that I saw from a very famous YouTube finance guy called Dave Ramsey, where I think, you know, it has a lot of basics. I suggest you go follow that page. And another nice page is Whiteboard Finance. When I started like earning, I decided to like get really into get into content that's around finance, and that's helped me a lot. There's also a lot of literature on it by Robert Kiyosaki. So a lot of the references you're going to see us use in this episode come from there. We'll have them in the description. You can go there and see what references we use today. So the first thing I think you've asked, which is about how do I distribute my income when I'm getting a salary, is I implement the 50-30-20 rule. 50-30-20. So 50% of the cash that comes in goes to my needs. The things that are absolutely necessary. It's not something that's impulsive or something that is essential to my way of life. For example, these are things like shelter, groceries, clothing. You know, because but clothing is a gray area. But like clothing, just to let you know.
Depends on the month.
Depends, depends. So and the profession you're in, if you're in the profession like that's mine, where it's really really focused on how you look and how people perceive you, it can turn into a need. But that's another conversation. So food, shelter, something that's very, very important that most people don't really care, young people don't really know about, is insurance. Health insurance is fundamental. Health insurance, if you're not getting health insurance from your employer, health insurance is a fundamental aspect of your pay, of how much you earn. So that's also an investment you need to make into yourself. 100%, so that's 100%. For some people, retirement benefits are no longer a want, they are a need. So usually, a lot of Kenyans here in Kenya, we use the National Social Security Fund, where you invest into the fund, and then when you hit the retirement age, you're able to pull those funds out and use them in the last stages of your financial life. So that's something that can also be a need. So 50% usually goes to that. Want 30%. So these are the things that I want. These are the things that Oscar likes. These are the reasons why. Most of the time, these are some of the reasons why you make money. So 30% can go into a hobby, can go into going and eating in a nice place, can go into, I like to call it the Dubai portion of your account. That the Dubai portion of your account is where you want to go to Ibiza, you want to go and watch the Euros 2020 finals. If you have that money, that's in the want sector. It's not in the needs. Yeah. Now, one of the biggest issues with most people is that wants and needs are not clear and indiscernible. So it's very, very important when you're implementing 50-30-20 that you write everything down. You'll just see how much of your money goes where. So write everything down. This is a need, this is a want, this is a need, this is a want. And then 20% goes to savings and investment. So that 20% is basically the untouchable. The money that it's like you touch it, it's a crime. So this mainly goes into different types of investments, which we'll also get into in this episode, which is you can have something in a high yield interest account where you're constantly competing against inflation. Now that I've touched on the word, I've said the word I was avoiding to say because I can get technical with it. The word inflation. I don't know if I have my wallet with me. Does my wallet have a note? Does my wallet have a note? Is there a note here? Huh? I don't have a note, unfortunately. But I wanted the most important thing about cash, especially cash in hand, is that cash in hand is constantly depreciating. Anytime you have money in your hand, you're a victim of inflation. What is inflation? Inflation occurs when the money that you're making no longer gives you access to the goods and services that you want at that same price. So the inflation rate in Kenya, we usually like to say, bei ya unga imepanda, which means that the price of maize meal has gone up. Maize meal is a basic commodity for Kenyans in our consumer basket. So when you feel the price of things are appreciating and you're not investing, all you're getting is a salary or cash for a service, what you're doing is you're putting your cash at danger of being outpaced by inflation. So as the price of goods is rising and the value for your money is depreciating, you don't have an investment that combats that. So it's very, very important for you to invest, because if you're not investing, essentially you're allowing inflation to take money away from you.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. I wish I had that note to demonstrate it better, but it's a very, very important concept. So savings and investments, So savings and investments, that 20% is meant to outpace inflation. Exactly. So if you're not investing at all, basically all you're living on is money. You're not putting it in assets. So assets are, cash yielding opportunities. You're in trouble. So that's how I divide it. Yeah. Mine is 50, 30, 20. Yeah. Yours? How do you handle?
This is why this episode. So with me, I'm not going to speak to I'll speak to my general approach when it comes to finance in terms of my lifespan, rather than, because I feel like if we're both given it's because of time. So I'll speak to my general approach to my life cycle when it comes to finance. But the reason it's very important that you've mentioned the 20% fighting inflation, because sometimes investment options can look really daunting for some people. If you're not financially literate, it can seem very daunting. And this is why we're actually extremely excited to tell people about the whole DigiTrust thing, because of the entry point that they have, which is 500 shillings is the base price that you can start with investing with DigiTrust. And that's what we're going to get into further down the episode, so stay with us. We're going to tell you all about DigiTrust, how to invest and how to have that low entry price and let somebody else basically do the work for you, put your money in there, and that 20% Oscar's talking about, they're going to help you essentially fight the inflation with the product they've got, right? So, Now, when we're talking about my approach to investment and my approach to life and finance is, like I said, I'll speak to a longer time span. So my thing is, number one, I've recently read the book Ikigai, which says you shouldn't retire. So this is a new concept for me. So I've had to kind of adjust my I've had to adjust my financial model a bit, because apparently you're happier when you don't retire. But let me speak to my financial model anyway. In my life, the way I look at the span of life is Oscar's going to get into the individual's financial life cycle in general, but this is my interpretation of it and how I want to structure my life. When you look at your lifestyle expenses, right? When I look at my lifestyle expenses, I know that for me to have an enjoyable month, for me to do everything I want to do, go to the place I want to go to, pay my bills, still have something in the bank, like Oscar said, whatever you're investing, I need a certain amount of money coming in every month. That's what I need to be able to live as Eli, right? Eli in my 20s as a single person. So that's how so there's a figure there. There's a figure that I know I need. Then there's a figure that I know when there's significant others in my life, I'm going to need slightly more, because there'll be dependents, there'll be significant other like a wife, right? So I know that figure is going to have to go up, so I can sort of predict for that. So my approach to life is figure out your life expenses, exactly what you need to have a comfortable life financially, and then whatever the 20% investments that you're talking about that you're making, make them in a way that they're going to be, they can come out of your earning pattern, and then they can be going into somewhere else that's going to start earning you the money, so you can compound that money. This is my plan in life anyway. You compound that money if it's you've bought into land, if it's a trust, if it's like an investment option like DigiTrust. You're putting that money away. It's earning. It's working for you passively. And then when you get to this my stage in life when I'm a bit older, then whatever those investments, I can now liquidate those investments. If it's like something physical like land, I can liquidate that. If it's a trust, I've built up the interest. Then stick that into a bond. That now the point is, when you're sticking that into a bond, it needs to be that you can calculate that the percentage you're getting from that, but we're going to get into bonds later, but the percentage that you're getting from that bond is the same figure that you used to live on. So basically, essentially, your money is stored there, then the money that your money makes for you is the same figure that you were working for previously. I hope I've broken that down nicely. So if it's like a few hundred G's a month, then I've put a few million away, so that though the profit, the interest from that is that few hundred G's that I'm getting every month, I've still got my money there that can be passed on to another generation, and then I'm still living comfortably off the percentage that the money is making for me. So that's my approach to my whole
long term,
like my long term life.
Your
as to
game.
how I want to structure it.
Yeah, everyone has a different play. Everybody needs that dough differently. Everybody needs that dough differently. Not everyone says, you know what I mean? Like everybody needs that dough differently. Some people have, like Eli is saying, some people utilize financial assets so that they can be able to create wealth over time. Other people are interested in short-term investment, short-term investment return cycles. So basically, their investment horizons are very short. So I want to put in money for 3 years, 2 years, get my return. 2 years, 3 years, get my return. Because I have other ways of making money. So I think this is a nice segue to talk about asset classes and basically what investments, what types of investments exist, and how you can plug yourself in. So for that, obviously we won't get too much into details. Eli has been mentioning the word bond. Bond is something that you have to understand the term interest so that you can really get. So I'm sure everyone who's watching this has taken, at least most of the people who are watching this have taken a loan at some point in their life. So what they don't know is that the bank basically treats every individual as an asset. Every human being who's taking a loan is a cash-making asset. Basically, the work that you do is meant to generate return. And whenever they give you a loan and they tell you, okay, go and buy land, they're telling you this is the interest. It's their money making money for them. Okay, it's the bank's money making money for the bank. So whenever you hear that word interest, it means there's a percentage. It's very important in investment. If you're not someone who enjoys numbers, I completely understand. If you're not someone who enjoys numbers, understand percentages. It's very important to understand percentages because that's how money is measured back when it comes back to your pocket. And when it's taken out of your pocket, percentages are a very, very important aspect. So when you're discussing types of assets, types of investments rather, one very, very important type is fixed income securities. So when you hear someone say fixed income, it means that's a bond. So a lot of people usually say, I'm going to central bank to get a treasury bill, a treasury bond. What that means is you're giving money to the government. Okay, you're giving money to the government. I think the current buy-in rate is 100,000. So you're giving money to the government, and then the government becomes your debtor. In Sheng, we say unadai. Basically, the government is your debtor. So unadai gava. You basically are making the government your debtor. So the government can actually, instead of you giving money to John and James, who can lose your money, John and James can take your money, go buy Gilbey's. But the government won't take your money and go buy Gilbey's.
Yeah.
You get what I mean?
Yeah.
So that investment type is called a bond. And guess what? The government is actually paying you money to give them money.
Yeah. Yeah.
Guess what? It exists. Imagine. It's out there in the world. So the government.
School. Yeah.
Yeah. The buy-in might be a bit high for some youth, but if you come together, I really believe that I really like the Chama society, which is where I like to call it syndication. So where youth come together and invest together and then get money out. So it's a big opportunity for the youth where you can literally loan government money and the government gives you money. Okay, so that's one. That's fixed income securities. These are bonds. Guess what? ICA Lion can also issue a bond.
Exactly.
Okay, so ICA Lion can say...
it's beautiful.
Yeah, you're saying, so ICA Lion can wake up one morning and say, we need to open 10 branches. We need to open 10 branches in Nairobi. Okay, we need to open 10 branches in Nairobi. Our cash flow right now, we don't want to risk it. We don't want to risk it as much. So what we're going to do is we're going to ask members of the public who believe in us and our brand to assist us with some money. And we know for sure that we'll be able to perform. So you can invest in ICA Lion. How? By buying a corporate bond. So there's a government bond and then there's a corporate bond. Corporate bond are for guys like Eli and I, open a company. It does really well. We need to expand. So we issue a bond to members of the public and promise you what? Interest. Remember the percentage thing I was saying? That's what we promise you. So that's fixed income. That's what there are many other types of fixed income securities. But that's the base. I want us to make it like the basics so that the youth can understand how much of an opportunity this is for them that these companies are giving us. So that's fixed income. The second type of investment is shares. Everybody in Nairobi likes to say, you see, unaona KFC, akona shares. Everybody likes to say he has shares. He has shares. This person has shares. They have shares. You see mantalk.ke that Oscar and Eli are wearing. Oscar has shares. Yes, this is not a lie. So you see, like, it's subtle. Yeah, so it's like when someone says we have shares, essentially what Kenyans are referring to is that you have equity. Now, equity means that you don't just own a piece of the company such that you're getting paid. You also have control over the affairs of the company. Meaning that if you have shares in a specific company, you have a say in which direction that company goes. So it's a good investment because you're not only able to invest money and you're paid out cash through dividends, you're also able to control the direction that company is taking. So how companies pay back people who own shares is through something called dividends. So that's another asset type. There are many asset types. I could get into it for this whole Mantalk episode. But
the key is can you just speak to the risk factors as well? Because the different things you spoke of have different risk levels.
Exactly. So okay, that's a very good question, Eli. What are the risk levels for each asset class, for each investment class rather? The thing is, if you're giving money to the government, like we said before, the government is not going to wake up and buy Gilbey's. But if you're giving money to Oscar and Eli to run mantalk.ke,
reckless. Reckless.
You might see us at Milan popping bottles. There's a probability. There's risk-free investing only exists when we talk about government. With every other investment, there's some risks, but it's up to you to do the due diligence to know this is risky and this is not. Now, when you look at, there are some schemes that exist that limit that risk, where people are not buying Gilbys with your money. People are not buying alcohol with your money and doing crazy things. Where that risk-free investment exists is with things like unit trust schemes. So what is a unit trust scheme? First of all, when I usually do my due diligence for investing, the first thing I usually check is, wait, is there a regulator? Is this market that I'm investing in regulated? And unit trust schemes are regulated by the Capital Markets Authority. So shout out to everyone at the CMA. You guys are doing a fantastic job, by the way. CMA. Yeah. Anyway, so the Capital Markets Authority regulates unit trust schemes. So what is a unit trust? So a unit trust scheme is basically where Oscar has 500, Eli has 500, Becky and Beryl and Becky and Eric have 500 to give. So we put all that money together, so collectively, because like I said, investing is a game of percentages, right? So together we can yield a higher percentage if we put all the money together. And then we go and enter the financial market. Now, what that means is we now have ability to enter very different markets. Everybody in Kenya knows you don't put all of your eggs in one basket. So you want to put your money in a little bit, you want to put it in fixed income, where you know there's a government bond, that's money that's guaranteed. Then you want to put also a little bit in Oscar and Eli, who might drink Gilbys, but if they don't drink Gilbys with your money, they might actually create more money for you. Because why? They're busy, they're growing Mantalk, it's getting sponsorships. I'm saying. So like, you want to put your money, a little bit of your money there. Then you also want to put a little bit of your money in other types of asset classes, like real estate. So with a collective fund, it limits the risk that way. Because there's a larger pool of investment, your money is now safer because like it's in that unit trust. And the sweet thing about it is, if this person who's managing the unit trust, whichever fund manager, because now unit trusts are pooled funds that are managed by a fund manager. If the fund manager steps out of line, you know that the Capital Markets Authority will crack the whip.
Exactly. And that's why it becomes a lower risk type of investment, because like Oscar's basically said, you have these authorities, and also the people that you're investing in, they are the experts. And that's why, when I was saying that, it can sometimes be daunting. That's why the trick is, if you want to just be doing the thing that is called investing, and if you're not maybe well versed in finance, then you find the people that are, you find something that's low risk, and you find money that you can afford, the money that you can afford to put elsewhere. Because there's sort of other, I'm not going to go into those terminologies, but there's like risk capital. There's things that, so you have to be able to know how long you can survive without that money while it's making its own money. That's very key, because if you start to invest more than you can, you'll start to feel the strain, and you can't actually afford to have that money out there, and it's going to be counterproductive because it's not there long term if you're looking for a long term investment, right? And that's why I think a terminology people are going to hear is money market, and that's basically what Oscar has described very well. By the way, it was very very well. Very well broken down. But when you hear somebody talking about a money market fund, that is a type of a unit trust, like Oscar has broken down. So yeah, essentially, I think the definition that ICA Lion put is that it's a type of investment with people with a common saving and investment goal, and they join a common investment scheme that's managed by a professional. Yeah, so that is essentially what now this DigiTrust is, right? Since you've sort of broken down you've broken that down perfectly, and because we said to ourselves, Oscar, today that we're not going to go over an hour. We said we're not going over an hour. So I'll take the individual financial life cycle, and then afterwards we'll walk you guys through the DigiTrust platform, and now we talk about investment, the importance of it, why it should be done. We're now going to talk to you about the actual product that ICLIN have in terms of how you can enter, and then how you get your money to make money, as we've just said, right? So this model that we've sent to Beryl and we're going to put on the screen is one that me and Oscar were talking about last night. We're talking about how do we capture somebody's like financial life. Like I've talked about mine, Oscar's talked about like his, and we've talked about now these investment options. And so how do they play in a person's lifespan? And what's really funny about this model that you're going to see on the screen now, and if you're watching the podcast, it will be linked in the description as well, is why at different stages in life you're seeing people live very differently. Right, so there's on this chart you're going to see that, you know, from the ages from 0 to 20, it goes up in increments of 10 years, 0, 20, 30, 40, 50, all the way up to 80, and then there's a positive correlation within the graph with your money, and above that, if you're on the podcast, you have single, married, raising a family, starting to approach retirement, and then retirement years. So as you go through life, stage 1, which you'll see on there, is the stage that I think me and Oscar, that's where we are right now. We are single, and we are in our 20s trying to create that basic wealth protection. And this is why people say to start investing early, because that's when you start to create this sort of wealth protection, because like Oscar said, he's putting that 20% away, and that's why we're kind of urging you to be looking for options such as DigiTrust to do the same. You're starting to put your money away, and you're starting to say, yes, I'm working hard while I'm physically able, and my money is, yes, it's sustaining my lifestyle, and I'm also putting something ahead into the future, right? So that's when you're sort of building the wealth protection when you're early. This graph I have an issue with because it puts marriage and raising a family bang in the middle of your 20s, and I'm starting to lean over into the 30s, and it's a bit worrying. So, you know, this is open for revision. This is from the University of Arizona. I would like to just say, you know, let's make that a bit more malleable, those increments of 10. But yeah, then you sort of get into the raising the family, and you're going to start seeing, we said in the last episode that, you know, as you go through life, I think I saw this on the live, that, you know, your market value is dictated by how replaceable you are. I think, was this on the episode or on the live? I was saying your market value is dictated by
how replaceable you are. Yeah, that's it was a live.
Was that a live?
That
okay,
was
so
when
let
I
me
was
break it
telling
down
you
here.
about. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
so basically the market dictates your value by how replaceable you are. So you'll find that when you're younger, everybody has left school, right? You've all left school, and now you've all had the same education, right? And then you're going to go into your work field. You're not specialized in anything. You've just got good grades, and there's thousands of you all with an A-star. There's thousands of you with a C. So at that point, you're all the same. That's why people complain when they're going to apply for jobs that they say they want experience, because otherwise we can just choose from anyone. It doesn't really matter. There's nothing. That's why you want to do these extracurricular things, but that's a whole other conversation. Now, when you start at that point, you're going to find that you're starting down here with the wealth on the graph. It's very low because at the moment, there's nothing that puts you apart from your peers. But then as you get older, you'll find yourself in maybe your first company, and you start to lean into a niche that makes you start learning from somebody older than you in that niche, and you start to become an expert in that slowly, right? And sort of as you go through life, like I said, you become less replaceable because you've now learned, you've been in certain situations, there's that intangible value when you're working in a corporate sort of, so like Oscar, for instance, as he's going down his law career and he's specializing more in corporate or whatever he wants to do because he's open to do anything, he starts to become more specialized in that. So when he goes to his next one, now the CV reads, I've done this and I've done this for a certain amount of years, I've learned this and this and this. That sets him apart from the person that's just left the institution because Oscar's got that skill. So naturally the market dictates that he is more valuable than the other person. So the price goes up, and that's why your financial situation goes up in this individual's life cycle. You see this with footballers, right? Cristiano Ronaldo is the highest paid because he is not replaceable. You can't replace Cristiano Ronaldo because of that time, those clubs he's played at, right? If we're breaking it down to a sports analogy. So that's why you start to see, your wealth accumulation is going up, and now you start to even start to put more of that income into, because you're now accumulating wealth, right? So that protection you started earlier, when you're accumulating, you're building those barriers higher, right? That financial insulation where, when you're older and you don't have, though you're very skilled and you're expert, you don't have that energy, you don't have that same ability you did when you're younger to be able to, contribute to a company. So you're starting to build those walls around you. If it's a pension scheme, life insurance, DigiTrust, right? So you started to basically insulate yourself financially. Then you get into the retirement age, like I've said with myself, where now whatever I've invested, I can liquidate, and then I start to let my money make money because I can't physically make money myself. My market value is high, but I can't physically do that. So that's how the individual's life cycle goes. And then when you get older, you find that you have more dependence, and then you're now at stage 3, which is wealth distribution. Because now you've got, that's why everyone gets their grandkids. You want to now think about how you're going to let your family, your legacy, all of that stuff. So that's a person's individual financial life cycle. So the reason we know our demographic at Man Talk is young, we're all going to be in that space where our market value is not the highest, but we're getting there. We're on that trajectory, hopefully. And at this stage is when you should start be doing what Oscar's doing and putting away those 20% to build that wealth protection. So later on in life, when you are sort of older, or even if this is sort of more short term, you're accumulating wealth, and then you can do whatever you want with those profits and insulate yourself later. So that is a person's financial life cycle. And that's why we really recommend that, with the DigiTrust being such a low entry point, it's a really good way to start that life cycle in a positive way. Start that wealth accumulation, start that insulation of financial insulation that, will help you in the future.
It's a very good way to like just tell you how important it is to set aside a little bit of money. Because like if you think about it from the compounding standpoint, a lot of people don't know much, don't like to talk about the value of compounding, but it's really, really important for you to understand the value of compounding. As a young person, the one thing you have more that even the wealthiest men on earth don't have is time. Exactly. That's the one thing you have that everyone else, nobody's selling time anymore. I've not gone to a supermarket and they told me they have 5 kilos of time. Nobody's selling time anymore.
Yeah.
You get me? So the biggest value that DigiTrust can give you, is how do I monetize my time? How do I put 100 aside, 1,000 aside, 2,000 aside in 25 years, in 20 years, in 30 years, I'm able to reap the benefits of X amount. Because as time goes by, like I said, your enemy, I wish I had that note. Your enemy is the money in your hand today. The money in your hand today is your enemy. It's not your friend.
Yeah.
Because you can spend it, but it's not making money for you. So always think about money that's there tomorrow. It's the note that's there tomorrow that's more important than the note that's there today. Because that note that's there tomorrow will be 20 times more than it is today. So guys, if you put money that earns, 3%, 4%, 5% interest for you, value that. Even if it reads 400 shillings. That 400 shillings difference is money you didn't work for. You didn't work for that cent. Yeah. Exactly. It's money worked for you. So that's the value of compounding, guys. It's money is working for you. While you're home, even Albert Einstein says there are many wonders of the world, but the one that baffles him the most is the value of compounding.
Yes.
So I think
that was beautifully put. Put. Yeah. There's a really funny thing online where you see somebody asking 50 Cent. I've recently read his book, fantastic, I recommend it. So they say to him, like, he has the show Power, and then they sort of say to him, why would you kill your character off? Then he goes, I'm a boss. Do you see? He's like, I'm a boss. Of course I can kill it off, because even when I'm sleeping, Power's still making me money, even if I'm not a character. So basically, he's speaking to the fact that it will get to a point where you don't have to physically do anything for your money to be making money. That's when you're cool, and that's what they call financial freedom, basically, which we're all essentially trying to achieve. So I think we've really covered the importance of investment. Now, so let's talk about our beautiful people at ICA Lion who've given us an option after we've talked about the importance. Now there's an actual option, a very tangible option that we're going to talk to you. But at the same time, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking,
will they start talking about the target? Are you?
Huh?
Are they going to just open a product? You're going to open a product and show us.
Go exactly, like it's not here. So and at the same time, I don't want this to be tedious, so I'm not going to go through. Click this button to do this.
No, wait.
This. There's going to be a link.
Yeah, this is what I want. If you're watching this now, this is what I want you to do. Otherwise, this part of the episode is pointless for you. If you're watching this now, I want you to just type on your laptop invest.icalion.com. Just that.
Yeah.
It's just
very
let's
simple.
start.
Very simple. Yeah.
Very simple.
Yeah.
Very simple. You
and
can see the website is Are you there? Have you done it? If you haven't done it, by the way, you're not talking. If you're listening to us on the podcast, type invest. I'm waiting for you. .icalion.com. Okay.
And so once you get there, it's a super simple. Like I'm just gonna talk to you about like how quick it is, but you know we're not going to actually do it live on camera because you know we want this to still be engaging, still a podcast, and some people are visual. But at the same time, it's a 5-step process, right? Like to be able to start from I've never invested anything in my life to I can invest as low as 500. That's basically how it starts. So there's, like you said, if you want to start it, you basically go to the website like Oscar said, and it's a 5-step process.
And then it's a 5-step process. It's a 5-step process.
Sorry, four steps.
Yeah, actually, it's a 4-step process. The first thing you have to start with is tell us about you. It's simple. Put in your number, put in your name. And then once you do that, the next page is going to ask you to predict returns. That's my favorite page. If I'm being honest, I'm actually doing it live. I'm actually just because that's how much I like this product. I'm doing it live. Yeah.
One thing you have to make sure you have as well, like when you're starting this, like Oscar's doing now, is just make sure you have your ID, your KRI PIN certificate. That's all you basically need as well, just before you.
It's vital. It's absolutely essential that you have it. Otherwise, unless you have those numbers at the back of your mind, I trust you do, but I don't know. I don't know. So you put in your name, you put in your number, and then you have to start predicting returns. So you'll notice that you start with 500 and as little a commitment as 100 bob a month, like 100 shillings a month. You get what I mean? 100 shillings a month, and you're already set. And you can see they're actually telling you this is how much you can project. This is how much you can project in terms of return. And that's a big value add because you don't have to be sophisticated to understand the product. You just need to just slide the scale. Do you have $1 million somewhere? Slide the scale.
Yeah. And that's what so basically when you're putting that money in, they're doing what we've just told you. They're going to go and invest it in all of those 4 sort of asset classes, you know, if it's bonds, all of that. So then they're going to go do the work for you, and then they're coming back. Like we said, every investment has risk factors, but you can pick the ones that are lowest, and they're going to go do the work for you. And then all that happens at the end of the month is that you're given a statement as to, you know, what percentage you've made that month, and based on how much you put in is obviously, if it's a percentage of that, then the higher you earn with how much you put in, basically. So you go in there, you activate it, and then you allocated a unit trust account number, and then you receive a purchase note that serves as an acknowledgement letter, and then you get a statement every month as to, you know, how much your money has made money. The final thing as well is, you know, if you want to now, you've put that money in, and like Oscar said, the beauty of compounding, you want to put more money back in, maybe you've made some money elsewhere, you want to top that up, it's now, you can do it 5 different ways. One is by USSD, which is this is all going to be in our caption, by the way. You just dial *9793#, or you can do WhatsApp. They've got a WhatsApp bot. The link will be there. You can do the self-service portal. The link will be here as well. Or you can just do it via M-Pesa to their paybill, which will be in the bio as well. Or you can just transfer directly to their bank account. So it's a super seamless way, and it's a great way for you to do everything that we've basically broken down in terms of, you know, building financial insulation, or, you know, growing or putting that 20% away so that, you know, at least you're putting something away sort of for the future. This can also be short term. You want to just put something in for a few months, or you've got a lump sum, you want it to make you some money. DigiTrust is just a great way to do it. I've personally enjoyed the platform. And yeah, just the fact that it's super simple. That's what I like. Accessibility, Oscar. That's what I like. Yeah,
for me, it's the, you're buying expertise at 500 shillings. You're not, you know, exactly. you're buying into a fund manager's time with 500 bob. And Eli and I are, yes, we understand a little bit about the financial markets and investing, but you're getting certified investment professionals caring about your money for 500 shillings. And you're a young person. I mean, as a young person, I think this is a fantastic opportunity. And personally, I'm not gonna say much, but there might be some Mantalk dollars floating. In the
and it's like we said, you know, when you said last episode, we know our demographic's young, right? And this is the beauty of, I think, our generation and just tech, because before that, you know, this kind of information you couldn't get unless you're part of the rich. You wouldn't understand or know where to go to invest money and create generational wealth and all this sort of stuff, because the internet wasn't there. And this just speaks to like where we are now. That, you know, you're a young 20-year-old, you can get, like Oscar said, like an expert to invest that small amount of money, right? And then the beauty of compounding. So, guys, we just urge you to invest. Thank you to just for sponsoring this episode.
Before we wrap up, I remembered that we have a huge audience in America right now. So Shout out to
really?
Sandy Styles. Yeah. Shout out to.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. Shout out to Sandy Styles and shout out to Spilled Word Podcasts. If you want to invest at Digitrust and you're in the US, it's very important to have your FATCA forms in place. So that's the due diligence that will be required. Of course, the American system of finance and the American system of taxation is much more different than what we have here in Kenya. But if you're watching us from nation states outside of the Kenya jurisdiction, it's very important to have FATCA forms that you'll upload onto the same website. Remember, it's invest.icalion.com. And go through it.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah. So I really hope that this has been engaging and interesting. We just wanted to really break down. The main point of this episode is to talk about money and investment and needing that dough. The badge under the lapel was ICA Lion partner with us, and we thank you guys over there for doing that so much. Hopefully this is a long-term thing we can do in the future and help more guys get more financially literate. But next episode, last time we said it was going to be this episode, that's the Q&A. We needed that dough, so we had to do this episode first, and then next episode is going to be a Q&A, so we're going to put out on our socials the ways that you can get involved in that. I think as well, I've not even discussed this with Oscar, but we're going to give you a chance to actually send voice notes. We'll play it on the episode, and then we'll respond to those voice notes as well. So look out for that on our socials, and then we're going to have that Q&A about absolutely everything. We will be selective with the questions though, because some of them are wild.
No, me, I'm not selective. I'm not selective.
Nah,
Eli is
listen,
selective.
this
He's
is-
the half
this
of
is
Man
where we
Talk
differ.
that's
This is-
brandable. I'm not selective. Send me anything. It's fine. But do you know what?
Reckless,
do you know?
reckless.
Do you know what will make me happy? Do you know what will make me happy,
Yeah.
Eli? If they like, share, subscribe, and then send us a voice note. That'll make me happy.
Yeah, do all of that. We need to grow so we can get more ICA Lions. So thank you guys so much. Thank you ICA Lion for sponsoring this episode. We really appreciate you, and we really hope that guys take this on board. Check out Digitrust. If you have any questions about it as well, we have all the info. We can send that to you, and everything's going to be down in the bio as well. Enjoy the rest of your week. Happy Sunday, and we'll see you next week for another.
See you next week. Footy
Peace.
use them. Footy use
Put it
them.
out there. Come on. See you later,
All
guys. Take care. All right.